All right, and we should be live. So let's just do a double check, make sure things are working. Good morning, good morning. As you can see, I found myself in a position already. Small little scalp that I got stuck in pre-market. I saw this inversion down here after sweeping the news high and was anticipating a sweep of the the consequent encroachment of this gap down here and got stuck in consolidation. So it's just been riding it until either one of my stop or my order is hit. So we'll see how this plays out. Just checking on my stream here. Says, trying to see if it says upcoming. Live. Can I get into my live? Let's just a second. I'm trying to make sure my streaming is working, recording. Cool, appears so. So this for me, this fair value gap is the last line of defense here on this. I was anticipating it to come down in here, take some liquidity before ripping higher. So I did maybe prematurely enter this with a little bit more anticipation of some sell side delivery. That's okay. Small light scalp. Uh, whether I'm right or I'm wrong, I won't know. So um, while that's playing out, I guess we have 4 minutes until open, and what was today? Today, 8:30 news was core PPI made this nice little move up. 200 ticks, not too huge. And then took the news high up here, came down and formed this inversion gap right down here. And that's when I went short with SMT, higher time frame level, everything there. And after I went short, sometimes I feel like this happens. Like I see this distribution down lower, and then I entered on this candle, and that's when it starts chopping. Right, I've had that happen a number of times where I get into the trade and it just chops. Not fun. I thought about closing it down here and I struggled a little bit with, well, my rule is don't break even on the trade when you enter, unless like some trade criteria is missing that you missed or messed up or read the chart wrong. Um, and so to some extent, I did try to reason my way out of the trade. I was like, well, it's actually against my overall bias. It fits my narrative. I thought price was going to come down into here first and then continue higher. But and so therefore I should have waited for this long because that's what I was originally really waiting for. So I don't know. The risk was so small that I figured it'd be good for me just to practice being in the trade while it's chopping. Um, so we have 2 minutes till open here. YM and ES. Let's see what they're doing. So here's ES up here. Relatively correlated to NQ. YM is as well, which is nice. It was uncoupling through here, but it looks like they have started to resync. And this is just ugly. Look at how these candles are not moving. They're just wicking. So when 9:30 opens, it's going to rip one way or the other. It's either going to rip for my buy limit or my buy stop. I just did a simple one-to-one because it was against my overall bias, but fit my narrative. And 1 minute until open. Let's see what happens. It's just been in a consolidation pattern, which is good. That's what we want to see before 9:30. I want to see price do this. I didn't think it was gonna do that, but that's what it ended up doing. Because when you get this formation here, that's when we either get a manipulation to the downside or to the upside, and 9:30 forms a two-stage delivery, which for me is exactly what I want to see, a two-stage delivery. So I'm going to find out here in about 15 seconds if I'm on sides or off sides. Got these equal lows down here. Buy side was taken. There was bearish SMT, now there's not. So delivering sell side. initially. And based off of this consolidation, I'm feeling a little more like it's going to stop me out than it's going to run for my take profit. But I don't know. Right there, I could have exited a break even. Was thinking about it, didn't. So this is coming for my stop. All right. So there we go. So time to zoom out a little bit. Okay, so 9:30 is delivering to my target. I just got stop hunted. I was the liquidity right there, which sometimes happens when you hold a trade from into 9:30. It does exactly that. So there was my short target hit. I just got ticked out. All right, so here I was anticipating some kind of long. So that's what I'm looking for. So price is filling in this imbalance on the 15 and on the 5. That was what I was anticipating. So I'm happy that that happened at least. Um, would have made me feel a little more insufficient if price would have just ripped from my stop up here without coming for anything down here. So I enjoy being right. Um, and not in the way like I have to be right, I have to win the trade. I enjoy knowing where price is going to go. I'm marking something here over on this other chart real quick. Um, so did these equal highs up here, took that before distributing lower. I'm assuming London to be low of the day for the time being. Forming a market maker sell model is what I assumed down here. Um, depending on how this closes. So this to me is now looking a little more bearish with its distribution. Um, we shall see. There's still, let's look at this aggressive distribution lower. There's all this trend line liquidity down here. The 1 hour, the 4 hour look like they're forming a strong rejection off this fair value gap, which would suggest lower prices. Here's this gap. So here we have sell side is swept, 14 seconds to close this candle, potentially forming a gap here. No gap. Five-minute formed an inversion. So that's the start of a significant uh, uh, move to the downside for on the 5 minute. Move over there. So here, obviously a market maker sell model on the lower time frame, which is what I was going in on, and this distribution lower closed below that. So we'll see what happens. The 15 looking like a more of a bullish response. So I'm getting a little bit of a mixed signal here on these lower time frames. Locally, there's not any high probability target. There's these equal highs way up here. And so I would enjoy, I would like a long better if this liquidity up here hadn't have been swept. That to me makes me feel a little more bearish. So as if it would save these equal highs for later and instead come down for this trend line liquidity down here. Which, looking at the 1 minute, there's this inversion here. That wouldn't really be my play. It's an inversion breaker, yes. It's just so huge. So I was on side. I just got stopped out. Which is okay. I don't really feel anything. And that's where I'm really working on, is I'm working on not feeling anything either way, whether I win or whether I lose. And I know that's probably not exciting to watch, but my goal is not to be an entertainer, but to be a good trader. So 2 more minutes in this macro. Nothing for me here. Ooh, ES is ugly. YM is completely uncoupled. Yikes. Can't tell. That's below that. So that's not a bullish SMT. ES is just, they are all doing different things. So here's a bullish SMT here. That is above that. So here we don't have any bearish SMT. But we do have a larger time frame SMT. The New York PM high has a bearish SMT. And this is exactly what I've been seeing. I feel like I should be getting, I said this yesterday, I feel like I should be getting up earlier. AM, price is moving. And then once 9:30 opens, it just does this garbage. It's done it like all last week. It's done it. This is the third day, I think, this week. Like, I can't trade that. It's just trash. So, zoom out a little bit. So, this was a level I was real interested in. Um, I felt this zone is where it was going to decide whether we were going to go into a sell or a buy program. Um, here's a market maker buy model on the 1 hour. It's retesting it, but I would have liked to have seen it retest it before coming above the consequent encroachment of this 1 hour gap. This whole thing is starting to make me feel much more bearish. So got the delivery into the fair value gap that I was hoping for, which happened earlier than I thought 9:30 was going to deliver into this fair value gap all the way. It ended up delivering earlier, and then I took the short out of it. I was shorting down to the consequent encroachment. Um, 5 minute. So let's zoom out even a little more on the daily. Here's this daily rejection block. I did it again. I grabbed the short position tool, or the position tool, and not the fib retracement. So this on this daily, the range high was taken with this candle yesterday, kind of making me expect range low in this regard. Although I wasn't gonna, my any bearish biasness is cautiously. This thing has just been grinding up in this daily range for days now, and this has not been fun to trade. So I wasn't going to be confidently bearish, but this rejection here did give me a bearish vibe. Um, zooming out here a little more. Yeah, overall, I'm relatively neutral on the daily and such. On these medium time frames, I was more bullish. I'm leaning now more bearish, especially if this candle closes like this. Um, and that's interesting because you have this very bullish 4 hour candle. And then if this closes anything like this, you have a very bearish 4 hour candle. Um, all around the daily low. Curious to see going over here. All right, ES, YM, NQ are all starting to distribute lower. So maybe they are sinking a bit. I wanted to see. So tapped into the high of the gold block, which is I was slightly hesitant because the short hadn't tapped into that high, and I was anticipating it too, and it didn't. I still took the short. So here tapped into that high, and then it distributed. So I'm noting to myself for the future. Um, back to midnight open, I was checking if we were near any. So previous day equilibrium is up there. Goldbach equilibrium's here previous week. So we aren't at equilibrium. Um, but we are retesting the midnight open. So yeah, 7:45, or well, 9:45 New York time. I'm on Mountain Time. Just sitting, waiting and seeing. So none of this is anything I want to be a part of. This is while it's distributing lower, it is a high resistance liquidity run, which we look to the left side of the curve. Um, I would expect quick distribution lower with all these swings. This is it's moving and it's moving nicely, but it's high resistance uh, versus a well, I mean, I guess this compared to this is low resistance compared to this. It's distributing much further, much quicker, but within itself, it is a high resistance run. These candles are not just boom, 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 boom. So wanting to see it move a little further and a little better. But I don't know. I'm feeling like I should be trading pre-New York or Asia or something at this point because New York AM has not been. I'm gonna study that a little further today. See how many days 9:30 open has been poor price action like this, and I'm sure there's plenty of Twitter traders who took a position in here and it's all good and dandy, but I can't trade this yet, which is okay, I guess. I'm not saying I want to or have to. You can just get caught up in it. And even looking at like where I was in here, I entered and then it just started to get on a smaller frequency, started to chop around, get wiki candles, not really wanting to move. Was a two-stage delivery at 9:30 open, which is what I was expecting. And then it just exacerbated the frequency of that chop. And if I have, truth be told, if I have any feelings inside of me, I feel like shutting down the charts because the last number of days, I feel like ever since I started this challenge, I feel like that's exactly what's happened. Is I open it up, I'm like, oh, this is okay, and then 9:30 happens, and it looks like crap, and then I stream, and then I step away, and then it does something, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. I still have it on my chart. Look at this. I marked the time that I left yesterday because I was just like, I'm over it. Where is that line? Right there. I'm just sitting here. It's just not moving. It's stuck in this opening range. It's just chopping. Was shutting it down. I put the line there on the candlestick that I shut it down. So I shut it down here. The next candlestick distributed and provided a long opportunity, right? So I guess maybe that's me being a little spiteful. So Asia right there, Asia's range. Mm, oh, that's what's missing. 5.6 handles on Asia's range. London took its low, which made me feel that maybe London would be the low of the day. Um, and it can come down into here, and I'm still actually could see a bullish setup bias. There we go. So this is the distribution lower. That's looking better right there, those candles. I forget what I was even coming over here to do. Zoom out a little bit. So this is making me wonder if it's Tuesday high of the week. All right, 950 macro. So this distribution lower is indicating to me coming for this low. I'm assuming this to be a failed market maker buy model right there. It is possible to come down into discount and keep going. But given that this is in a sell program on the 1 hour, I can see it both ways, and that's in part daily consolidation. All right, what do we got? What do we got? All these equal lows we're taking. I'm having a tough time seeing it bullishly now with price the way it looks right now. It's always interesting to me how just a couple of candlesticks can really change what you see. And even one candlestick can change what you see, what you think you see. Like on this 4 hour chart, with this bullish candle right down here, you can try to move my target. Massive tail down here, closed up here, and then this candle's trading up into this fair value gap, big green candle. You're like, oh, we're bullish, right? And in the course of that one candle, it filled in this inefficiency, and now it's careening down lower, right? And I guess I don't like to be married to my narrative or my bias for that exact reason. I think it's Justin Weirlin. I don't know how to say his last name. He talks about not being a predictive trader, but being a reactive trader. And like it's both. I want to be predictive because I want to have a sense of where the market's going. But I also want to react as new data comes in and tells me if I'm right or wrong. So like this 1 hour closing above this consequent encroachments of this fair value gap, that did give me a little more of a that's like a bullish data point. But even after that 1 hour closing and then this just distribution down lower, now I'm looking at this 4 hour candle going, oh, but this 4 hour candle, it could it could come all the way back up here and close up here. Like there's still 3 hours and 50 minutes left in this candle, right? So the 4 hour, I'm not certain about. The 1 hour, I'm more bearish on. This candle right here, if this was bullish, it likely shouldn't come all the way down into this discount here. Um, it could, and it might before continuing higher, but that would indicate a little more of a consolidation, which we are on the daily, than anything. Um, so on the 15-minute here, so this 15-minute breaker failed. What does this 15-minute breaker do? Let's say anywhere I could call this a breaker right there, and it might close below. So that's now an inversion. I'll leave it as a fair value gap just so I can remember going back to study what I thought it would be. Go back to the 1 minute here. All right, everything is relatively in sync. ES and YM. Um, NQ is consolidating down. ES is consolidating sideways. YM consolidating more or less sideways. So still slightly out of sync, but not bad to compare to other days and how it was earlier. This is where I get a little bored sometimes, and I can just come look at playing with indicators and seeing like what helps me draw. Like this indicator, I was looking at this macro. I even just like kind of projecting into the future a little bit. I don't like how much it takes up on the screen. And that's what I was saying. Like I like how light of a footprint this macro indicator is, but it doesn't print. I would love it if it just printed like the next macro line, the next one. I forgot to check regular trading hours. Would have helped me. I would have been, still would have been bearish. So here's our first presented fair value gap today. Can use that as a way to gauge order flow. Um, 950 macro, not doing much of anything. So again, none of these indicators are like predicting anything for me. They're just drawing, saving me some time and giving me context. Midnight open, macros time, hourly open, price, levels, equilibriums of ranges, previous day high, previous day lows, um, session liquidity, gold box levels, which are ranges. So 10:03, we have a new hourly candle right here denoted by this line. Coming over here. So that hourly candle closed below this. So that to me becomes that is a bearish breaker. I'm expecting, same here, expecting price now to trade up into here and come down lower. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I just wanted to note that I wasn't certain what price would do. I want to come back and I journal this kind of stuff. I want to see how right or how accurate I am. So there's this gap here, current imbalance, expecting this to fill in to some extent. So during these waiting periods, I like to review some things. So I'm going to take a look here and remind myself of some things that, and I said this one the other day, I want the pain of discipline, not the pain of regret. And what that means is you can take a trade that you might regret because you take it and then you go, oh, that's, and you know it's not perfect, or there's a balance there. Like no trade, not many trades are absolutely perfect, but when you're taking a trade and you're like, oh, I broke my rules. Like, oh, if I have a rule to not take two trades in one macro, well, and I take that second trade, that's not discipline. That might be regret. Um, versus if I stay disciplined and adhere to my rules and I take a loss, I can accept that because that's me playing with my system and playing into my probabilities. Um, more I've noticed more often than not when I do things erratically impulsively that I regret them. Versus when I do things from a place of discipline, I tend to be right more often, and I tend to feel okay about it when I'm wrong. And that's a much better feeling as a trader. Um, Next one says trading is 90% sitting on your hands. Let the setup come to you. Like hunting normally, you work to make things come to you. You do not you have to do nothing. You wait for it to come to you. And that's true. It's like you are hunting. Um, you're putting yourself in a good position. And but I'm also not, and then I'm waiting. I know roughly where I want to see what happen, and if it's not happening when and where I want to see it happen, I don't do anything. So I'm waiting for it to come to me. And right now I'm waiting. I'm waiting for price to show me something. Show me more information to confirm what I think it's going to do, and also waiting for it to come to a level in which I can take a shot. So for me, like right now for a long, do I have anything? Um, there's no hourly, so this is bearish order flow to me, more than likely. And I don't know, I just almost went, I felt really trippy. I'm looking over at this chart over here, this 4 hour chart, and the new 4 hour candle opened, and it's 10:08, which makes sense, right? The new 4 hour candle's open. I could have sworn a few minutes ago when I was talking, I was looking at the current 4 hour candle saying it still had 3 hours and 50 minutes to go or something like that. And so that just shorted me out because I must have been crazy um, to think that. And I guess even looking over here, here's this 4 hour candle that closed very bearishly. So that to me is confirmation of bearish order flow. I would be looking for some kind of short opportunity now, still. I guess I was. So here's the reversal for the day. And so I'm anticipating some kind of continuation. And up here, I was stop hunted, so nothing I can do about that. I could have re entered because I saw it once. I would have seen, once I saw this candle, I knew, I was like, I was on sides with this stop hunt. I potentially could have re entered, I guess, with the same inversion, you know, would have placed a limit order. It would have tapped me in on that candle. I would have felt uncomfortable because that was my drawn liquidity. So to think that this next candle would, yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to look at a lower time frame. I don't know what happened on that candle. So I still could have been a winner, but not, but I didn't, which is, I guess, okay. Like my rule is one trade per macro. And there is an exception in there. It's like, what does it say? It says if I'm collected and I see the opposite. Um, I think is what it says, which here it wouldn't have been the opposite. Here it would have been re-entering on the same setup, which I don't like to do. I don't like to re-enter on the same setup. Just for me, generally doesn't work out well. Generally, if I'm off sides, I'm off sides or something like that. Oh, look down here. Super bullish response. Um, so that 10:08 candle closed. So there was a winning 1-to-1 trade. I said I didn't have anything to do down there. There's a 15-minute rejection block. Um, I just could I couldn't long there. I can short it. So here's a stop hunt. There's an inversion. There's the whole inversion. So inversion and a breaker, or a breaker. Here's the inversion. Oops. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Inversion, breaker. Tailless candle. Um, so there's a stop hunt. There's no SMT. Tailless candle, tailless candle. That's an inversion, 1 hour inversion. I feel like I can short. It just doesn't have local SMT or any kind of SMT. Not the SMT timetable. Close below. Gee, we're in the 10 o'clock macro. I am not seeing SMT. So there's the stop hunt. This to me appears to be a continuation play, unless I'm just missing the SMT. I mean, I can consider this whole thing the inversion too, and a close below. Just trying to find out if I have any discernible SMT. Here I do. Right there. Between, it's not a swing point on the YM though. It's just a candlestick. So 10, 1018. I don't like this tailless candle. So some bullish SMT2. Possible it just accumulates too. So this is 10 a.m. Is this the 10 a.m. reversal macro? I'm having a real hard time wanting to long here. Even though it's in a discount. Gosh. So like coming over here, see this pattern of this 4 hour grinding up and here coming to the discount of the 4 hour. That's a buy zone, right? But the market structure I'm seeing has me struggling to want to buy. So that tailless candle was mitigated. This inversion here did not confirm. Um, there is some bearish SMT starting to form. YM took the high there. So let's see here. Let's see here. Feeling a little more like this is a number of days that I've seen before with this distribution and then the accumulation, and then sometime in the lunch it actually breaks out of here. It's not looking like it wants to run. It's at the equilibrium here on gold bach, reclaiming the previous day low and then heading back up towards midnight open. Um, Everything's still relatively in sync, but I don't need those right this second. Let's go back over here. See what we can see. Zooming out. This is a super deep retracement for me to want a long here. This fair value gap here acting as an inversion. Look at that. Closed above, creating the fair value gap, so then acted as support, closed below, stop hunted, closed above, ran some buy side liquidity up here, ran down, closed below, all in this, I think this is a 729 gold bach range. Equilibrium acting as equilibrium tends to. And yeah, we got these relative equal lows down here. They're looking super juicy, but the 4 hour is just doing nothing but grinding up. Confluent with that, the daily just grinding up too. This consolidation upwards. Yeah, this is the zone where I'm just indifferent with my bias. Above the new week opening gap in the Monday 12 a.m. opening, I am bullish. However, getting below it, bearish. So in this zone here, and I should keep that in mind that there is this new week opening gap. If we come down in here, if we take this liquidity, I could see a long potentially. 15 minutes, a little messy with all my drawings. I want to keep most of it on there because I want to review and journal a lot of this. So like my equal lows were taken continually. Quite a bullish reaction on this 15-minute candle here if it closes up in this area. Not saying it's bullish, but that's a nice bullish candle. Might be like a 1 pixel fair value or a pixel from back in my days programming. 1 tick gap. That's what I was trying to say. Let's see here. So this 1 hour candle coming up and balancing this price range back out. Real curious to see how this candle closes. All right, back here. 10 a.m. hourly candle open. So accumulation, manipulation, distribution, right? AMD. Where is the accumulation in this candle? Is this the accumulation? This the manipulation and this the distribution for these relative equal highs up here? Or was all this the accumulation? There's going to be manipulation and distribution, which would be my guess. Alrighty. Still just sitting on my hands since this morning. I took this short here. My narrative and bias was correct. I got stop hunted on the 930 candle. and did not re-enter, even though I was correct on that short. So I'm down one partial R. I took it with low risk. And I've just been sitting on my hands waiting for something to happen. Um, and I guess something to keep in mind for today is this one right here. So do not trade for the outcome of the trade in front of you. Trade so that profits remain as a result of constantly following your rules and making mini trades. And that's the important part, the mini trades component. That's the difference between a win-lose game and a game of probability, right? Caring if you win or lose an individual trade or an individual on an individual day or even a week, right? That's a win-lose game. It's like I won this week, I lost this week, I won this week, I lost this week. But with the game of probability, we don't know the outcome of the the flip of the coin, right? Um, we don't know if it's going to be heads or tails, and it can alternate 50-50, but it could also you could also get five heads in a row. That's possible statistically. Um, we don't know the distribution of the outcome of our trades. And so when we think about this as a game of probabilities, all of a sudden we don't give a donkey's patootie. I'm trying to keep it clean for the YouTube algorithm. What our outcome of our trades are, and I'm looking for. Gosh, where is it? I have a screenshot somewhere I printed out right in here. It was awesome. It showed the probability of and the likelihood of either X amount of wins or X amount of losses in a row. And it was super interesting to me. And it helped me on one of my last losing streaks where I was like, man, whatever it was, four losses in a row, five losses in a row. And it showed the probabilities of that. Maybe it's over here and I'll see if I can pull it up. Here it is. I thought this was super interesting. Based off your win rate, 50% win rate. So the probability of seeing X consecutive losing trades within a 50 trade period. So this is a 50 trade sample. And it just kind of shows you, and I thought this was interesting, the likelihood of seeing six consecutive losses. And I highlighted some of these here on the fringe. That there's a 97% chance you'll see six losses in a row in 50 trades. And that really kind of sunk in for me. And what I don't understand about the statistics is then why does it flip so aggressively from 97 to 29%? But it just kind of shows you how beyond like a six trade losing streak, the chances just go much lower. So 11 trade losing streak, a 1% chance. So when you're digging into these losing streaks, you're like, well, I can't keep losing too much longer, right? And that's where risk management comes into play, sizing down if you get into these losing streaks. So, anyways, I found that to be super eye-opening and really kind of helped my psychology when it comes to trading. So, got this minor buy side, and I'm interested in these relative equal highs locally. So let's see what happens here. Today feels like one of those days to be a reactive trader and not a predictive trader. Um, we want to do both. We want to be able to predict what we think is going to happen, right? We want to be able to like that's the confidence in the market that we know what's going to happen, and that's super important to me right now. More important than anything, um, is being able to predict what I think is going to happen with relative confidence. We're in an uncertain game, obviously, and so that can only be to a certain percentage, right? I think I'm tracking it up there on my board, and it's like 75% of the time I'm right on bias. Um, Am I drawing liquidity? A little less so on the narrative, which is how you get there, right? Bias equals bearish, bullish. Drawing liquidity is your target. Um, and then narrative is how does it get there? Does it zig and zag, consolidate, distribute? What does it do? And that's where the narrative is the piece I'm working on the most right now. How does it get there and through what time frame? Like, here's the 10 a.m. macro. So once the 10 a.m. macro hit, I understood it's possible for a reversal. And so, like, for me right now, I'm overall bearish, bullish, if that makes sense. I'm expecting a little lower pricing, but I'm not overall expecting bearish delivery um, to how to say, I'm expecting bearish delivery in the medium term. We look at the 4 hours just grinding up in a flag pattern, basically. Dailies consolidating. Um, and so what I was getting at was the idea of being predictive versus reactive. And I think that's an interesting balance, right? Because the predictive creates the confidence, but the reactive, the nimbleness in the markets allows us to adjust our predictions accordingly. And that's where I'm trying to find more of my edges in that reactive side of things. And I currently am a little slower when it comes to reacting because just my nature to slow down, to be thoughtful and think things through. Maybe, I mean, to a complete fault, think things through way too much. So when we're looking at these markets, that's one of my weaknesses, and the things I'm working on is being able to flip the narrative in my head much quicker. Um, like I was looking down here and I saw a long, and I'm like, well, yeah, but here the long would have for certain gotten you 1 to 1, and we'll see what it gives. Um, so at the moment, I'm still not in anything, still not seeing anything that I want to take. My hesitancy here was seeing a big distribution, and then what we see kind of something like this for another manipulation and then a distribution, right? And not that you can't get away with that long in there sometimes. I wasn't seeing this is high probability. Look at these candles. They're just ugly. Up until about here, which 9:30, the open keeps doing that all week long. So far, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 9:30 has been like pre-market's been beautiful. And then 9:30 is just garbage. It moved, but it was garbage. All right, mic back on. My sweet boy just brought me breakfast and some water. Oh, let's zoom out a little bit. I got these really messy charts. Part of the drawings are from yesterday, and I still need to document yesterday and journal yesterday. I really like to go through and assess my predictions and find out how right or wrong was I. Um, so the 1 hour is rebalanced itself. There's not going to be a fair value gap anywhere in here. Um, come down into discount, into this rejection block, into the equilibrium of the Goldbach range, the 243. Make sure I'm on the right screen for y'all. 243. Which is not an ideal place to do much. But let's see. The 15-minute. Yeah, that candle closed bullish above that rejection. that high. Look at that. Order flow is off to me. Like, uh, I guess we're in a ranging environment, which is why order flow seems off to me. So here's a balanced price range. Too many arrows, too much confusing stuff. All right, I'll I'm gonna clean this up and pretend I'll just hopefully remember my earlier predictions. So for me, this BPR is kind of changing the story, something like that. We keep seeing these deep digs into discount and premium. Look at this. So here on the 15-minute, that target's long gone. And I'm wondering if it's Tuesday high of the week. Turds. Couldn't get that right. Tuesday high of the week. Come back and revisit that. So it's hard to be bullish in this market or bearish in this market, but I really want to be. Tuesday high of the week, this strong rejection here on the daily chart and the range high. Like, you got this target down here has been sitting there. And same here, like, I'm bearish in a bullish market. So this 5-minute inversion, let's see what else we got on the 5-minute. It did flip this gap here to an inversion. Doesn't mean it won't flip it again if it's actually bearish. I would anticipate this one to fail just from what I'm seeing up here. If this liquidity down here was taken, might be different. On the 1 hour, and I guess I need to consider, could it be ranging down here? All right, what can I clean up on this? So that was the target. That's long gone. Like, we came up into here. This candle took all this liquidity. There is a bullish SMT down here. This volume imbalance, the new week opening gap, acting as a support level there. It's kind of thinking about, I don't normally use fibs a ton, but when it comes to markets that are moving like this, it does help me. Still hovering around the previous day low. Yeah, previous day low is right there. This is still a compression candle for today. Go back over here. Was there a stop hunt? What do we got? So buy side was not taken on ES, or NQ or ES on YM. YM did take buy side up here. It's distributing lower. So ES is a little more sideways, but still relatively coupled to NQ. YM distributing kind of sideways and down. NQ distributing sideways and up. So they're not correlated and they keep doing that. One of the OGs I've been talking to, he talks about the good old days when YM, when all the markets moved in sync. So noting this tailless candle right there. Um, so this kind of forms an inversion breaker down here. Kind of, it does. But is it going to fail? I think it will. Bullish breaker. And that's my model is an inversion breaker. I didn't take it because I don't believe it's bullish. I could be totally wrong though. But I'm happy, I guess, at the moment, just sitting on my hands, not seeing it clearly either way. It feels good for me. Part of my journey is not needing to recoup a loss right away. And especially kind of ones like this that sting a little bit, where you were totally right, or you know, and uh, and I just got stop hunted. So it's both. Like I was stoked that I was right. I was right about the timing and the narrative and the drawn liquidity. I just didn't expect that, which we never do. And so now I'm down a half R on the day. Um, but I don't feel like I need to gain it back, and I'm totally okay with closing today with that red. And that for me personally is a big improvement. All right, what else do we got? Anything else? Just chilling. Nothing to do at the moment. I'm still liking this London low. So it's a 10 a.m. reversal. Um, Equal highs up here. Now that was buy side. Now it's equal, but so in terms of like intraday profiling or session profiling, I feel like so if New York distributes lower, all these sells are in profit. We get into lunchtime, we get some kind of consolidation upwards, taking out some of these sells, a stop hunt, and then a distribution lower for continuation in the PM. Um, it's kind of what I'm thinking. And this was my first trade of the week. I guess I just realized that this is Wednesday, middle of the week. First trade of the week was an L. Um, I'm glad I'm not in a hurry. I don't need to get a payout. I don't need to win because that would be frustrating. Like if you're up against the wall and you need to get a payout, make money from trading, and you're like, man, it's Wednesday this week already, and I haven't gotten a trade in, and then you take the trade and you lose. Oof. It's the mental game. That's the tough stuff within trading. Last 2 days when I shut down the stream is when price moved. And I think that's interesting because I saw that with my mentors, both Master Friend and Hydra. The moment they would shut the stream down, that would happen. Then they would go, oh man, as soon as I shut the stream down, price moved. And then I find that once I start recording myself for journaling purposes, for documenting purposes, which is all I'm doing here, the same thing would happen. I show anybody who's nobody, probably nobody was here earlier, but I showed earlier on the chart where the line is still there from yesterday, where I drew the line, and literally the next 1 minute candle started the distribution lower, and there was a long setup and everything. And I think that that's interesting that the markets move like that. They are moving in a way where the human becomes frustrated, becomes bored, and then does one of a few things. They walk away and miss the opportunity, or they get in on the trash. And to me, this is kind of trash. The long idea would have played out, but over the course of gosh, 1010 to however long it takes to get up here. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That's interesting. Equal highs taken. BPR tapped into. I was not expecting this. Look at volatility. And so that tapped into the BPR. I don't have. So, oh man, this is not what I want. I don't trust this. This candle's moving, but I don't trust it. So there's a breaker. There's a breaker right there too. Um, Here's an inversion. Huge stop loss. Previous 15-minute candle was a compression candle, and this one's starting to look like it too. I'm not I'm not seeing it. I mean, there's a 15-minute liquidity pool swept. I generally like 1 hour higher liquidity pool sweeps. Um, right back at the hourly open right now. For me, I'm noticing that this stopped shy of the London low, equilibrium, previous week's high, month's high. Um, and it's giving me that's confidence in the short, but I'm not liking what these candles are doing right here. Zoom out a little bit. Look at that 3-minute candle. Doesn't that look bullish? Let's just change things up. Let's draw things a little differently. So here's the 3-minute inversion. Hmm. Breaker's failing. Like I was saying, I thought I would want to see it break. Uh, Here's this little guy. Relative equal highs. So, yeah. What's the time? 58. Tapped into a 15-minute BPR, took a 15-minute liquidity pool. I believe distribution's lower. So this is a continuation play. That is a 5-minute inversion. Um, Here's the inversion. Close below, close above. Here's this breaker. This gap is just getting inverted. The previous day low acting as this support resistance level. Um, let's see here. Let's see here. What is gonna happen? Funny, I just got the feeling to shut it down again. That's what I was saying right before this candle. I was talking about my mentor shutting it down, and then price moving, and then price moves. But when I look at this 15, it's just not moving. I'm not interested. My rule is I shouldn't take a trade if the 5 or the 15 are consolidating. And so it's stuck in this range. Um, I don't have a solid read. I've been on for an hour and a half. Feels like a bit of a break, so break time. So I'm going to mark that and just clean this up a little bit and call that a session. I showed up. I did my thing. I guess just to review, today is day 8, I think, day 8 of the challenge, and I'm red on the day, a half R. I took a half risk position up here, and I was on sides, but um, right. My narrative was right. My bias was right. I just got stopped out, and I haven't seen anything that I felt good about entering in this whole thing. A distribution lower, couldn't get in on it. Didn't have my model for a continuation move. Um, Possible long. I just don't think I had all the criteria met well enough to take a long. It just grinded up. And I've been sitting on my hands, basically just chilling, reading price and talking. And yeah, so that's the challenge. That's the recap at day 8. I'm at down a half R on the week. I was flat Monday and Tuesday, so this is my first trade of the week. And gosh, look at that. Now it's going to invert that inversion gap or that fair value gap. That stop hunt. Jeez. All right, well, I'm going to shut it down. And yeah, I'll be live tomorrow, same time, 9:30 open, a little before, go over some narrative and bias. And yeah, work on getting to the end of this 90